It was a calm evening on January 13, 2012, as the Costa Concordia set sail from the port of Civitavecchia, Italy. The massive cruise ship, carrying over 4,200 passengers and crew, was embarking on a 7-night voyage through the Mediterranean. Under the command of Captain Francesco Schettino, this journey was meant to be a luxurious escape for the thousands on board. Instead, it would become one of the most infamous maritime disasters in recent history. Francesco Schettino was no stranger to the sea. Born in the seaside town of Castellammare di Stabia, he had grown up surrounded by the ocean. His fascination with ships began early, and after completing his education at the Nautical Institute Nino Bixio, he joined Tirrenia, a ferry company where he gained valuable experience. Schettino's career trajectory was impressive, and by 2002, he had secured a position with Costa Crociere, a prestigious Italian cruise line. His journey with Costa Crociere saw him rise quickly through the ranks, and by 2006, he was at the helm of the Costa Concordia, one of the fleet's most magnificent vessels. The Costa Concordia was a modern marvel. Launched in 2005, it was a floating city, equipped with every luxury imaginable, from gourmet restaurants to lavish spas. Weighing over 114,000 tons and capable of accommodating thousands of passengers, it was one of the largest ships ever built by an Italian company. Yet from its very beginning, the ship seemed to carry an ominous shadow. During its christening ceremony, the traditional champagne bottle thrown to break against the ship's hull failed to smash, a bad omen in maritime tradition. Despite this, the Costa Concordia embarked on numerous successful voyages. Schettino, known for his charm and confidence, was often praised for his handling of the vessel. But beneath this confident exterior lay a man prone to recklessness and overconfidence, qualities that would ultimately lead to disaster. On that fateful January night, the Costa Concordia departed Civitavecchia for its next destination. Among those on board was Dominika Kamortin, a Moldovan model and dancer who had caught the captain's eye. In an attempt to impress her and the islanders of Giglio, Schettino decided to perform a salute, a maneuver where the ship would sail close to the island's shore. This was not part of the planned route and was done purely on Schettino's whim, a decision that would prove fatal. As the ship approached Giglio, Schettino turned off the automatic navigation systems and relied on his judgment to navigate the massive vessel. This decision was both unnecessary and dangerous. Without the advanced systems that modern ships rely on, the Costa Concordia was essentially blind to the treacherous waters ahead. The captain, distracted by his guest and driven by a desire to show off, underestimated the distance to the island's shoreline. At 9:45 p.m., disaster struck. The Costa Concordia hit a submerged reef, known locally as the Skull Rocks. The impact tore a massive gash in the ship's hull, causing water to flood into the lower decks. Passengers felt a violent jolt as the ship began to list. Panic spread quickly as the reality of the situation set in. The lights flickered and then went out, plunging the ship into darkness. On the bridge, chaos reigned. Schettino hesitated, unsure of how to respond. Instead of immediately alerting the authorities and organizing an evacuation, he delayed, downplaying the severity of the situation to both his crew and the Italian Coast Guard. Valuable minutes were lost as Schettino wavered between action and inaction. The ship's crew, though trained for emergencies, found themselves in a situation far worse than any drill. Without clear orders from the captain, confusion mounted. Passengers, many of whom were enjoying dinner or entertainment just moments before, were now scrambling to find life jackets and lifeboats. Families were separated in the chaos, with parents desperately searching for their children. Despite the growing danger, Schettino still did not give the order to abandon ship. It was only when the ship's tilt became too severe that the crew began launching lifeboats. But by then, the Costa Concordia had listed so much that launching the lifeboats was perilously difficult. Some lifeboats could not be used at all, forcing passengers to leap into the freezing waters and swim to shore. Schettino's actions, or lack thereof, during these critical moments would later become the focal point of intense scrutiny. In a shocking turn, he abandoned the ship while passengers were still on board, claiming later that he had accidentally fallen into a lifeboat. His departure left the ship's crew and passengers in a state of utter confusion and fear. The Italian Coast Guard, particularly Officer Gregorio De Falco, played a crucial role in bringing the extent of Schettino's failure to light. The now famous exchange between De Falco and Schettino, in which De Falco demanded that the captain return to his ship, captured the nation's attention. The phrase, "Vada a bordo, cazzo," get back on board, damn it, became symbolic of Schettino's failure to fulfill his duty. It highlighted the stark contrast between De Falco's resolute determination and Schettino's cowardice. As the investigation progressed, it became clear that Schettino's decision to sail close to Giglio for a salute maneuver was driven by personal vanity rather than professional judgment. The black box recordings revealed that he had turned off the ship's automated navigation systems and had misjudged the ship's proximity to the rocky shore. The collision was a direct result of his reckless actions, compounded by his decision to rely on visual navigation in the darkness. The trial of Francesco Schettino began in 2013 and would last nearly 2 years. It became one of the most high-profile cases in Italy, drawing massive media attention and public scrutiny. The courtroom was packed with survivors, families of the victims, and journalists eager to hear the proceedings. Schettino faced multiple charges, including manslaughter, causing a maritime accident, and abandoning ship before the evacuation was complete. Throughout the trial, Schettino's defense team argued that he was being unfairly scapegoated for what they claimed were systemic failures in the ship's operation and Costa Concordia's policies. They contended that the company had pressured him into performing the salute maneuver and that the ship's design flaws contributed to the disaster. However, these arguments did little to sway public opinion or the court. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence of Schettino's negligence and misconduct. Witnesses testified about the chaos on board and the lack of direction from the captain. The black box data was particularly incriminating, showing that Schettino had been in command at the time of the collision and had made critical errors in judgment. His actions, the prosecution argued, were driven by arrogance and a disregard for the safety of his passengers and crew. In 2015, the court found Schettino guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison, broken down into 10 years for manslaughter, 5 years for causing the shipwreck, and 1 year for abandoning ship. Many felt the sentence was insufficient, given the scale of the tragedy and the loss of life. Schettino's appeals were unsuccessful, and in 2017, he began serving his sentence, marking a dramatic fall from grace for the once celebrated captain. Meanwhile, the Costa Concordia itself remained a haunting presence off the coast of Giglio. The salvage operation to remove the wreck was one of the most complex and expensive in maritime history. Engineers had to refloat the ship and tow it to Genoa, where it was dismantled and scrapped. The operation took over 2 years and cost more than $1 billion, but it was necessary to prevent further environmental damage and to bring closure to the disaster. The Costa Concordia tragedy had far-reaching consequences beyond the immediate loss of life and the financial cost. It prompted significant changes in maritime safety regulations, including stricter protocols for passenger evacuation and more rigorous training for crew members. The Costa Concordia effect led to industry-wide reforms aimed at preventing such disasters from happening again. For the survivors and the families of those who perished, the pain and loss endured long after the headlines faded. Annual memorial services are held to honor the victims, and the island of Giglio has become a place of pilgrimage for those affected by the tragedy. The disaster remains a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of negligence and the importance of accountability in positions of leadership. As we reflect on the Costa Concordia disaster, it serves as a somber lesson in the critical importance of responsibility and the catastrophic impact of its absence. The legacy of Captain Schettino is a cautionary tale, not just for those in maritime professions, but for anyone entrusted with the lives and well-being of others. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most infamous maritime disasters of our time. If you found this story compelling, Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations of history's most significant events. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, the decisions we make in moments of crisis define who we are. Until next time, take care.